Wagwan, back with more Reddit stories. I'm gonna cut the intro short because I don't really have anything else to talk about. And yeah, let's start. Am I the asshole for refusing to give my friend $1,000? When I was 20, a friend and I were both broke and constantly talking about how we needed to get our lives together. One night drinking beers and shooting the shit, we made a deal. Whoever saved 10,000 first would give the other person $1,000. Over the next few years, we brought it up constantly. Whether one of us bought something stupid, the other would say, "There goes the 10 grand." Eventually, I started taking my finances seriously. I worked extra hours, stopped going out as much, drove an older car, and passed on things I wanted. My friend went in the opposite direction. He went out constantly, financed a newer car, took trips, and basically lived paycheck to paycheck. A few months ago, I finally hit 10k or $10,000 or 10 bands. When finances came up, he laughed and said, "So where's my thousand?" I thought he was joking. He wasn't. He reminded me that we'd shaken on it and that I spent years acknowledging the deal. I told him the entire point was to motivate each other to save money. Giving away 10% of my savings because I actually followed through seemed ridiculous. He was annoyed but eventually dropped it. Then a month later, his car broke down. The repairs almost exactly $1,000. Asked me for money again, except this time he wasn't laughing. He said he genuinely needs it, doesn't have enough saved, and could lose the job if he can't get reliably to work. I still said no. He told me, "You literally have the money because you spent years making better decisions than me. I'm not asking for charity. I'm asking you to honor something you promised." Then he said something that actually bothered me. "You were perfectly happy calling it a promise when you thought you might be the one getting the money. Now some of our friends think I should pay because a deal was a deal. Others think it's insane that I'm expected to hand over some money I worked for because of something two broke 20-year-olds agreed to." Honestly, I would say you're the one that's the asshole. I mean, if you knew you were making a deal with your friend to motivate yourself, yeah, I think you're the asshole. I mean, you can't make a promise and not deliver on it, especially, with it being a close friend of yours. Obviously, yeah, he made a few bad decisions here and there, but when he needed it the most, acknowledging the deal to motivate you, for you to do that, it's kind of a, what are you doing, man? And plus, you mentioned giving away 10% of my savings because I actually followed through seemed ridiculous. It's really not ridiculous. You have to stand by your words. You spent years acknowledging the deal, even if it's a stupid deal. Bro, you can't have a friendship lasting years and you have promises to each other, and then when that promise comes to hand, you're like, nah. And someone else summarized it, but sorry, but you're out $1,000. You made a handshake deal, and those deals actually mean something. Your friend needs the money to get his car repaired. Give him the money and save another 1,000. If nothing else, it will be good karma for you. You are the asshole. You don't make promises you can't deliver on. Am I the jerk for cancelling a family tradition after my aunt took something from my house? My grandma used to host what she called a free table twice a year. Everyone in the family would bring clothes, kitchen stuff, books, or whatever they didn't need, and people could take anything from the table. We skipped it after my grandma passed away because nobody felt up to doing it without her. Sometime later, I bought her house from my relatives. Once enough time has passed, my aunt suggested bringing the free table back at the house, and I agreed. The only rule was that people could only take things placed in the dining room. Apparently, my aunt decided anything that looked old was fair game and gave my cousin a wooden toolbox that was sitting near the back door. The toolbox belonged to my grandpa, and I use it all the time. When I noticed it was gone, my aunt said she thought I was replacing everything in the house anyway. My cousin lives 2 hours away and now says his kids already painted all over it, so returning it would just create drama. I told everyone the free table was no longer happening at my house. My aunt says I ruined it for the entire family over one misunderstanding, and that I'm ruining something my grandma loved. A few relatives offered to supervise it next time, but I don't really want dozens of people walking around my house anymore, especially with the police vibe that was suggested. Am I the jerk? No, you're not the jerk. This opens up on a whole other conversation as well over the fact that a lot of family, like aunts and uncles, they kind of get more comfortable, like stealing and taking stuff away from you. Like, okay, you're my family and whatnot, but you don't just take something that I own or something that has meaning to me, all in the sake of, I'm giving it to a child. I thought you were doing this. I thought you were doing that. I see this like around my own family. People just get too comfortable behaving in a certain way, and I hear it from other families as well. When you're around family and stuff, you kind of have this like behavior barrier get lowered because you're around family and whatnot. You don't really care about, what's going on. But if you were to, for example, meet strangers or people for the first time, your barrier goes up and you have to basically have a better standard of behavior with them. But I believe that even though you have your, behavior mannerisms around your family to be lowered, you should, have this sense of I'm I'm around family. I don't these people trust me for a reason. I can't just do whatever I want in the name of family. I think someone else summarized it just with two sentences. Not the jerk. Your aunt stole from you. Moral of this specific story, don't become a jerk to your own family members. Because at least with friends, you might break up a friendship, but you can't break family bonds. That shit can break a whole family bloodline over some stupid bullshit. So yeah. Alright, moving on. Okay, this one's a bit long, but I don't mind giving it a read. Am I the jerk? My fiance told me this is it, take it or leave it, so I gave him the ring back and told him to get out of my house. Whoa. My fiance Tom and I have been together for 2 years. He moved into my house 6 months ago and proposed a month ago. I thought we were solid, but now I'm questioning everything. I inherited a fortune 3 years ago. It changed my life, but I live below my means. I work part time as a teacher, travel, and have a non-profit in the works. I budget carefully so that the money lasts. Only my dad and sister know the full amount. When Tom moved in, I paid everything except most groceries. He wanted us to eventually buy a bigger house together so his dad could move in. I said no to living with in-laws, but suggested maybe a separate unit someday. He pushed back but agreed we needed to discuss finances first. Tom earns roughly 10k a month and has 100k saved. I have millions invested and about 40k month income from it. When I told him, he was shocked. He said if I have so much, why not just buy the house and cover everything? I explained that just because I can doesn't mean I should. I proposed separate finances, a joint account for expenses, and splitting costs proportionally to income. I told him I wanted a prenup. That's when things blew up. He argued we should be equal partners, meaning I buy the house in both our names, even if he doesn't contribute. We fought about this for days. Eventually, he gave me the ultimatum. Final offer. Buy the house. We own 50%. I'll sign the prenup, take it or leave it. I asked if that meant breaking up if I said no. He hesitated but said yes. So I left it. I took off the ring, told him it was over, and that he needed to move out. He backtracked, saying he didn't really want to end things, just wanted me to agree. He accused me of throwing away our relationship for money. I told him he threw it away by demanding I fund our life and give him half of my assets I worked to protect. Now I'm wondering if I sabotage my relationship. I love him, but I don't think it's fair to bankroll a grown man or accept ultimatums about my own money. And then there's a long ass edit I'm not really bothered to read. I'm gonna take a few seconds of silence to really think about this. What I'm reading is a bit of jealousy. I mean, he already earns about what, 10k a month, and he has nearly 100 grand saved. The moment he learnt about your income, he was apparently shocked, or felt a little bit, what's the word, cucked, if you know what I mean, in the relationship. Some people usually think just because your other partner makes more money than you, that makes you a smaller being, and it really doesn't. Just because you have more money doesn't make you of a higher lifestyle. I've already discussed this before in my my Dark Knight trilogy philosophy video, which I'll link in the description. And I think I think if he really did love you, or he had like some sort of thing working between you both, money shouldn't be the first thing that rolls in your mind when it comes to, true love. Oh, wait, there's been updates on this. Oh, there's two updates. Okay. Wow, this blew up. Just a yap about blowing up. This morning I woke up and Tom had made me breakfast and asked if we could talk. He said things got out of control last night and he wanted to explain his side. He told me that he was upset that I lied about my finances and felt like I didn't trust him. He said the money difference made him feel that I would always have more power in the relationship and that he might be vulnerable to financial abuse. Literally my point. He insisted that he wasn't interested in my money but wanted to feel that I would choose him over money. He admitted that he handled things badly and should never have reacted the way he did or given me an ultimatum. He said he never felt so lost and frustrated. The only things he emphasized really to him is his father eventually moving in. They're very close, and he wants to take care of him as he gets older. He apologized, said he didn't want to lose me, and told me he was willing to accept my conditions. I apologized for not being upfront about my inheritance, but I also told him I wasn't sure I could continue the relationship. His reaction last night felt entitled and manipulative, and I'm afraid he was showing me who he really is. I told him I love him, but I'm worried money will always be an issue between us. If he's already pushing for a house before marriage, what else he might push for later? I explained that the only way I could ever consider is agree is the following: a bulletproof prenup stating that in case of a divorce, he only leaves of what he contributed, nothing more. Agreeing to buy a house together, but his equity would reflect his contributions only. Creating a monthly budget where we both contribute proportionally to our incomes into a joint account for shared expenses, while keeping our separate accounts for personal money, going to counseling together. He agreed to all of this. Still, I told him I don't know if I could trust him again and need time to think. He agreed to go stay in a hotel room for a few days to give us both space. Right now, I honestly don't know what to do. Part of me sees this point and wonder if he just overreacted, but another part of me is afraid that if I ignore this behavior, I'll be setting myself up for bigger problems in the future. I would really appreciate your help in figuring out where to go from this. They say when someone is angry or at the point of breaking, they will say everything that they want about you in the times of anger. It literally proved my point. I didn't even know there was an update on this. I just read up until about like halfway of the post, and then after the edit, they've released two updates. And I've already said, and I sensed that there was some sort of jealousy in your other partner making more money than you. It's really not that serious, bro. If I get a sugar mom, people can say what they want about what you do with your partner and the way you spend money. But at the end of the day, it's your relationship, not theirs. If your wife spends more than you, that's great. If you spend more on your wife, that's great as well. Doesn't make a difference in the marriage. But I wanna see what she says on her final update. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for all the comments and support. I took some time away to think, talk to my sister, my therapist, and my lawyers, and I've made my decision. As much as I cared for Tom, I realized I can't marry someone I don't trust. What happened broke that trust, and I know it would always be in the back of my mind in our marriage. Every financial decision, I would doubt him, and that's no way to build a future. A few days ago, I asked him over and told my decision. He admitted he messed up and wanted to try couples counseling, but I told him we'd broken up. I agreed to counseling only as a way to see if reconciliation is possible someday, but truthfully, I feel like I'm just delaying the inevitable. I already had packed his things, and he was hurt when he saw them. That was heartbreaking, honestly. I felt really bad, but I know I had to stand firm. He left his, he left with his things and is getting a new place. This has been heartbreaking and draining. I don't know, but I know it's the right choice. Thank you again for the advice and encouragement. It really helped me get there. For those who are worried about making him homeless, don't. He makes good money and we live in a tourist city. Before moving in with me, he lived in hotels and short-term rentals for months. He hasn't paid rent there for 6 months. He'll be fine. He's not ending up on the streets. One of mankind's greatest tyrant Thanos said once, the hardest choices require the strongest wills. You know, you mentioned that it's heartbreaking and draining seeing your other partner in the way that they behaved, but you know what the truth is. You know what? You know you don't want to stand on a relationship like that. It's gonna be really hard moving on from a relationship like this with trust issues. So, good luck with that, and I believe you made the right choice. On to the next one. Am I the jerk for not warning the guy who keeps stealing my lunch that my food had something in it he can't eat? Someone at my job has been stealing my lunch out of the communal fridge for weeks. I'm not guessing, I know who exactly it is. This newer guy who started about 2 months ago. Some context, I follow a pretty strict diet for religious reasons. I can't just run out and grab food from wherever, so I can bring homemade meals every single day. It's time consuming, but it's necessary because my options are really limited otherwise. When my food disappears, I'm not eating lunch, period. There's nowhere nearby I can get something that works for me on short notice. I think this guy figured that out. He follows similar dietary restrictions, and I think he clocked early on whatever I bring is safe for him to eat. I'm pretty visible about my background, so it wouldn't have been hard to connect the dots. Every time my lunch vanished and he would be sitting at his desk eating something that looked suspiciously like what I packed that morning. I talked to him about it twice. Both times he completely denied it, acted confused, said he had no idea what I was talking about. So I dropped it and just kept bringing my food because what else am I supposed to do? Stop eating? Last week my partner made dinners and we had leftovers. The meal had an ingredient that is totally normal for me, that this coworker had a serious restriction against for his own personal reasons. I packed the leftovers for lunch the next day, wrote my name on the container like I always do, didn't list the ingredients because nobody in our office does that. It's a communal fridge full of containers with names on them. That's it. Lunchtime comes, I open the fridge, my food is gone. Shocking. I walk to his desk, he's eating it. I told him straight up that the food he stole has a specific ingredient in it that I know he doesn't eat. He stopped chewing. Started yelling at me how I did this on purpose, that I knew about his restrictions and deliberately didn't warn him. I basically booby trapped my own lunch to catch him. He said that I could have just confronted him again instead of letting him eat something he can't have. I told him I did confront him twice. He denied it in both times, and I don't owe a thief a detailed breakdown of what in my personal food. If he didn't steal it, he wouldn't have eaten it. Simple. Went to HR, they reviewed it, ruled completely in my favor, said stealing food is a policy violation, that I had zero obligations to label my own ingredients. I didn't set anyone up. I brought my own leftovers from my own dinner. I didn't change what I eat to trap him. He made the choice to open the container with someone else's name on it and eat it. Every consequence that followed came from that choice, not mine. Am I the jerk? You know that meme? Have you seen? You know those videos of people getting caught cheating and they start blaming the other person to basically guilt frame him? This is what just basically happened. How do you steal food? How do you steal food and then blame the other person for eating the things that you don't really like? How? I genuinely don't know what's going on in people's brains sometimes. Yes, we do need to kill all seven. We need to kill all 7 billion people, bro. What is this? Someone summarized it easily. Not the jerk. He's a thief and he's gotten his consequences. End of story. It doesn't make sense how people can make mistakes and you can get blamed for it or given guilt for doing an action which could have been prevented in the first place if they knew how to behave. End of story. No, you're not. Now, before I move on with other stories, I found some interesting ones that are some more disturbing stories, and I'm a little bit interested because I have a story on my own as well. I will say after I read a few of them, and the general topic is the most disturbing stories that you've been through. And this guy goes, I had awesome parents who let me stay in the living room on weekend nights when I was very young because my sister was a light sleeper and I could stay up until dawn. But of course, I always end up sleeping on the couch. So one night I wake up to this prickly feeling like an instinct, just bolting into the sitting position and stared out the front window. We lived in rural Georgia. I can't say this. We lived in Georgia, so you can imagine the magnitude of trees. In a perfect light cast from the moon, I see a silhouette of someone in this tree. The family dog dashes to the window and is snarling into the grass. Terrified, I run into my parents' room and try to explain to my parents, that there's someone strange outside. Dad grabs something defensive and darts out of the house, beats the wax off the hot head. I tremble in my mum's arms until dad comes back and he says no one's there. I decide to go back to sleep in my regular bedroom. I feel in my sister as what to happen. Dad is making regular rounds in the house with a cup of coffee. We're still thinking I can finally sleep. Nope. I notice the man outside my window. From what I can see in the moonlight, he gives me a shush signal and runs away. Just turns around and runs in a straight line away. I swear I couldn't stop crying for what felt like hours. If I ever have children, any moment they tell me anything, bro, I'm believing that shit. I put up this video of this little girl. She goes, "He's my friend." She's basically talking about how she has a friend in the closet. I'll just put it up because it'll be self-explanatory.
3, 2, 1. Ovaltine? Since when do you like Ovaltine?
It's for Percy.
No, we're not inviting anyone from school, okay? It's just us.
They're not from school.
Then where's Percy from?
They live in the closet.
Oh. 3, 2, 1. Oh, Tate's, Chips Ahoy, old chocolate chip. Which one should we get?
Well, Percy,
Well, no, okay. Hey, what did we just say? Remember? It's okay to have an invisible friend.
He's not invisible. He's standing right next to you.
I've just read the story, and the girl literally saw the guy who apparently that saw and didn't believe was there. Now imagine the same thing, but the daughter or the son comes to you and be like, "Yeah, I have my friend. He's in the closet. Dog, I'm burning down the house, bro. I don't care." There was another one. These ones are more interesting. And the guy goes, "So I was sleeping, and in the middle of my dream, a character of my dream, he was doing something, turned her head, looked at me very seriously, and said, 'There's someone in your apartment. Wake up.' I nearly had a goddamn heart attack, and my apartment was empty." Bro, this is crazy, bro. I thought mine was gonna be as crazy, but apparently not. So when I was that's so this is my story. When I was younger, I used to live in a small house on the second floor. So our main house, the owners of the house, they had two floors. So they lived only on the first floor, and on the second floor they allowed us to live on. We rented out the second floor because it was kind of semi-massive, to say so. It had like about 4 rooms and a living room, a semi-massive kitchen. We had, I think that day, I was expected to go to the airport and pick up my dad because he was coming back home. And I remember I was running up and down the house, not expecting anything, just going up and down. I was excited. I think I was on a sugar rush. And I go, so to mention it, we had two living rooms. One living room where, you sat down and you watch TV, and then a guest's living room, which was kind of massive and can host like 10 plus people in it. And I remember when I ran to the other big room, I remember seeing like this bluey, like bluish white figure that looked like it was running. I don't even know what it's called. I don't know if I can find a picture of it. I'll put it up. But I literally remember seeing something that was running into the walls. I ran back again, and I didn't see it again. I think it might just be my imagination when I was a kid, but bro, after reading this, I'm not really surprised if it was something. Now, another story goes. This is another story from a person who wrote, "I was a 15-year-old girl. I just moved to a new state and was hanging out with this guy from the neighborhood one Friday. We ended up at an apartment complex. The whole place was one big party. I somehow ended up in an apartment that had bare packaging for wallpaper. I was the only girl and the youngest person there, by at least 5 years. It was midnight. I got separated from the guy. I got separated from the guy I was with and couldn't find him. It was in the late 1980s, no cell phones. All of a sudden, something triggered my fight or flight mode, and I knew I had to get out of there immediately. I went out to the front complex where the washateria was. What the hell was a washateria? Found a payphone and called my stepdad to come get me. I didn't even know where I was, but luckily he had. Found out later 2 people died that night and the girl was odd. Always trust your gut feeling, people. Always do. And maybe you might have social anxiety that basically stops you from believing in that way. But trust me, always trust that gut feeling. And This is another one. Though this one's less of a disturbing stories that they've been through, but more of a something's wrong. And it goes, took a selfie with my girlfriend on the summit of a peak we had just climbed. Digital camera, not a phone. Turned the camera around to look at the shot and her hair was standing straight up. Told her we had to go right now. Started our descent in a hurry and took cover in a small grotto maybe 50 meters down, and a huge lightning bolt hit the summit. Loudest thing I've ever heard. And for the final story, it's this. Was about 7 or 8 years old and went with my family to this man-made lake, family park place in South Georgia. Basically like a big dugout pond that the owner put a bunch of beach sand and palm trees around and charged admission for people to come, park their cars, grill and swim for a day. Also had a big unsafe as hell waterside that kids got hurt on. So where my family would park was in front of this little island that was a clump of sand about 30 yards off the shoreline. I was not the best swimmer, but the depth was just above my head, so I could bop up and down and bounce on this island. Bouncing on that little island one day where we there, my foot came down and felt like a face. Felt that was a nose on my toe. The thing I remembered, the feeling of hair flowing between my toes. That feeling of fine hair waving in water. I freaked out and for the longest time just sat on the shore. Was a little kid and did not think anything of it. I can still remember the scared parents going around yelling this kid's name, asking if anyone had seen this little boy. They pulled his body out from under the water right in front of the island. I'm 47 now and can still remember the feeling of hair between my toes. Yeah, I'm calling it a day here. I'm calling it a day here. Bro, I have chills. I have chills. I don't even know what to say. I'm gonna end it here. Some pretty interesting stories. I might actually go more of a creepier stories than I might the jerk stories. I might do a bit of both moving forward. Okay, it's kind of interesting. And yeah, hopefully next video will be a little bit more interesting topic about my own life. So we'll see what happens, And until next time, I'm out.